What in the world is this? An individual over on X posted this photo of what he found in his rice. It looks like some type of chip, some type of RFID chip. Matter of fact, a person did reply with this. They said it looks very similar to something called a Manruda Pet Microchip Kit. It's meant to track cats and dogs, but it can also be used to track farm animals as well, like horses, pigs, sheep, things like that. What a very eerie thing to find in your rice, but let's also not forget, if we're going to say that this is just for animals, they also came out and said they put microchips in grated cheese. For example, makers like Parmigiano Reggiano put microchips in their cheese because they said it helps fight off counterfeits. But no worries, because they say they are completely edible and they safely go through your digestive tract with no side effects whatsoever. I just wonder how that's going to play a role when 6G comes out. I said, So now it doesn't have any side effects, supposedly anyway. But let's see what happens when 6G comes out. But yeah, what do you think this is? Do you think this is just a transponder for animals that crossed over into this food, or something else altogether? But moving on. So needless to say, we are stepping into deep Triceratops feces. I mean, we are waist up in this one. Apparently, British media is running reports that Trump has a major speech prepared involving UFOs and aliens. But before we go ahead and talk about that, I do want to talk about this really quick. On the topic of UFOs and aliens, it has come out that Trump has picked an individual to lead what is called a UFO council. And the person he just happened to pick is none other than Avi or Abraham Loeb. Avi has a lot of interesting theories when it comes to aliens and UFOs, but he especially has some interesting theories when it came to the Three-Eye Atlas. Matter of fact, it was he and his team that weighed the Three-Eye Atlas at 33 billion tons. Not just that, they also said that the Three-Eye Atlas had a mass loss rate of about 330 pounds per second. So with the 33s, we know what we're getting into here. But I have said in multiple videos, when it comes to the Three-Eye Atlas, we have not heard the last of it, that it will be used as a device for a future event. And given the fact that it was Avi Loeb to be the first one to strongly push the idea that the Three-Eye Atlas could have been a spacecraft or some type of spy technology for hostile aliens. It was going on multiple news stations saying how the Three-Eye Atlas was not natural, and now he's the lead of this UFO council. And just what will he be doing in this UFO council? Well, as coincidence may have it, he will be leading a team of outside scientists who study the national security risk posed by UFOs. But even more interesting are those that are on his team, like for example, billionaire Ben Lamb. Wasn't Lamb the name of Aleister Crowley's demon? Well, whatever. A billionaire who is working to revive extinct species through a company called Colossal Biosciences. You may have heard them before. They are the ones that supposedly brought back the dire wolf. But they really didn't. All this company did was genetically modify a gray wolf. So they're making chimeras, hybrids, all types of weird things. So it's very interesting he's on this UFO team. His company is also hatching chickens from artificial eggs. Just wonder where those chickens are going to end up. And with the way I think, I don't think it's really outside the realm of possibility that they would make some hostile entities. So again, I don't think we heard the last of the Three-Eye Atlas. But when it came to Abraham Loeb and his agenda, my red flags were really raised when I found out that he was a World Economic Forum agenda contributor. The World Economic Forum has their own agenda at play here because along with the United Nations, they have the 2030 agenda, which is basically a one world government. One rule, one law for all these countries to follow. And I really can't think of a better way to have all these countries follow one agenda of one government than aliens and UFOs. Now, I'm not saying that entities don't exist, they do. I just find the timing to be very weird. The closer we get to this 2030 one world agenda, the more we're hearing about UFOs and aliens from the government. And now we have a World Economic Forum contributor to be the head of this government UFO council. Like if aliens were to indeed invade with their UFOs, they picked very coincidental timing to do so. And this other individual, Mark Christopher Lee, a United Kingdom-based UFO researcher and filmmaker, is doubling down on comments he made a few months ago about how Trump has a speech prepared when it comes to UFOs and aliens. When he first made these comments, he said more than likely the speech would be given at the NATO summit in Turkey on July 8th, It's July 9th, and this speech never happened. But Lee still holds firm that this speech is any day now. He said that his Washington contacts told him a Trump UFO speech is written and ready to go and framed as a historic soft disclosure rather than a full-on confession of alien visitation. This speech is going to walk through major incidents of the last 80 years, referencing Roswell, the 2004 Tic Tac encounter, and reports of mysterious objects tracked by fighter jets off the coast of the United States in 2015. And supposedly he's going to go into detail when it comes to other craft and entities of non-human origin. Do I believe he has some kind of major speech prepared for a future date? I do, and the reason why that is because look at all the other stuff that's happening. He has a UFO council, the Department of Defense is releasing all these UFO files, so his speech really isn't outside the realm of possibility. More than likely saving this speech for when things really hit the fan over in Iran and they have to use this as a distraction piece, or perhaps using it right before Project Bluebeam, who really knows. There is a reason the government has been really hyping up UFOs and aliens lately, and it's not for our best interest or because they believe we should have this information, but because it really does play into this timeline. Let's not forget too that CERN will be activating again in 2030 with the High Luminosity Collider, so things are really about to get wild. But moving on to something very disturbing, data centers have a process called fill and flush discharge, the process in which data centers flood their cooling systems with water before powering up for the first time. Then they take this dirty water when they're done with it and send it back out to local wastewater pipes that are connected to municipal water services. They clean up the water, make it fresh again, and send it out to local waterways so it can be reused. Now technically this should not be used for drinking water, but more cities have begun to adopt using this as drinking water due to droughts. Well, a Meta-affiliated data center company called Goat Systems LLC, very interesting name, probably has nothing to do with the Baphomet whatsoever, flooded local wastewater pipes with this fill and flush process that had contained a rare and deadly bacterium known as Cupria vitis gallardi. And they have been doing this for a long time. Matter of fact, it was only found after a months-long investigation which traced the bacteria to Meta's discharge. This is what a Board of Public Utilities engineer had to say about this. He said, "This isn't something we normally test for," adding that it's a bizarre pathogen to find in any wastewater, even that coming from a data center. And here's the thing too, even though that it's very, very rare for this reused water to be used as drinking water, it's still put into aerosol. And as this engineer put it, this is what is sprayed into the grass. It's sprayed into the air. So it's very possible to breed this bacteria in any location that's using this reused water for non-drinking purposes, like for example, any location that has sprinklers going off. And while they say that nobody has supposedly anyway contracted bacteria from this data center or has gotten sick from this data center, it's just another example of the negative impacts that these data centers have. Even though the only benefit that we hear about these quote-unquote data centers is that we need them to beat China, or they're good for the economy because they employ people, but they only employ about a couple of people at best. Also, Cupria vitis is a very eerie name given the fact of where it's coming from. Cupri meaning copper, vitis roughly translating to craving, desiring, or loving. Copper craving, copper loving, what is going on inside these data centers? Very, very creepy stuff. This bacteria has a 31% mortality rate, and that's across roughly 32 documented human infections worldwide since 2009. Again, it's drug resistant and it greatly impacts those who are immunocompromised. And I know some people are going to say, well, it's extremely rare, but still, we don't need something, especially a data center, having the capability of having this being sprayed into the air. And if this one data center is doing it, I just wonder how many other data centers are doing it as well. We just had news come out that Amazon, they're taking their water and flushing it right back into natural water sources. Has anybody else noticed that more and more flock cameras are going up in places outside of their intended purpose? This video comes from Wall Street Apes.
Okay, this flock camera placement is especially suspicious because just take a look at this. Now, this is an outdoor store that sells guns. So it's very convenient to be putting one of these surveillance cameras out in front of a place that sells guns, almost like they can capture whoever is walking through the door, catalog them, and surveillance what's going on. So again, we're being told that these cameras are license plate readers, but why is it being put here? Because I screenshot this and then I zoomed in and take a look. The camera is on the other side of the pole, which means it's facing right at the door of the building. So you take a look at this. They're not reading license plates. They're documenting who's going in and out of the store. This is highly suspicious.
They want to know what you're doing, what you're buying at all times. If you're buying a stockpile of ammunition, stockpile of weapons for whatever reason, safety issues, they will know that too, and who's doing it. This next video comes from Shane Vibes, and this one is actually pretty creepy to me.
Okay, did you guys hear about the new Mandela effect that was just discovered? And I'm sure there's more of these to be discovered, by the way. There's old VHSs, there's old tapes, there's things we haven't seen in a while that if we go back, I guarantee there's more Mandela effects to be discovered. But this one in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory from 1971 with Gene Wilder, which is pretty weird, by the way, has a shocking Mandela effect, so let's get into it. So, we know that to get the golden ticket, you have to buy a chocolate bar, right? Not some Willy Wonka product, but like a actual legit chocolate bar. But what if I told you, you could pop your VHS in, if you still have one, and go watch the original, never been tampered with, not digitally altered. Charlie gets gifted, a moon pie now, not a chocolate bar, as the first chance to getting a golden ticket. The timeline is, he got the birthday treat at home, which makes no sense. If you watch the clip, he's like, I think I got it. You don't get a golden ticket if it's not a chocolate bar. So what the heck, and no one remembers it being a moon pie. It was supposed to be a chocolate bar. Then, Grandpa Joe secretly takes his safe tobacco money and buys Charlie a traditional rectangular Wonka bar. That one is a dud. And then in the street later, he buys a, again, chocolate bar, not a moon pie, and gets the golden ticket. But this one doesn't really make sense. The movie specifically states you need to get a chocolate bar to win. So why would he and Grandpa think he would even possibly win unless he had a chocolate bar? And this is said to have spread debate for decades. But only in the last 3 months has this moon pie thing come out and people been wondering about it. I can't find anything about it. People talking about why you got a moon pie if you can't get a ticket from that. I don't see anyone talking about that since 1971 up until this year. Family Watch's newscast stating golden tickets are exclusive to Wonka chocolate bars opens a moon pie. It doesn't make sense, and I don't remember no moon pie, man. I remember him opening a chocolate bar in that damn house. Now here's the thing though. A guy popped the VHS in his TV and said he solved the mystery of this moon pie. And he says, no, it is in the original. He says this is a VHS from 1971. It was not reprinted. It wasn't remade. This is the OG. And it shows a moon pie. So it must have always been a moon pie. But that is not how the Mandela effect worked. It's not that they went and changed it and Disney went and altered it. It's that we're now on a different timeline where that didn't actually happen. That's the trippy part about Mandela effect. It's not they're going into your basement and editing your VHS of Darth Vader saying, Luke, I'm your father. And now he says, no, I am your father. That's not what a Mandela effect is. It's a timeline shift. It's a little bit of a shocking thought, actually. But look,
there are a lot of people that believe it's always been a moon pie, and then you have a lot of people that believe it's always been a chocolate bar. I've seen this movie a few times as a kid, and I don't remember this scene having a moon pie in it. I always remembered it personally being a chocolate bar. But that's the thing about the Mandela effect. You'll have people believing two different things because it's a merger of two different timelines. It is very possible too, when it comes to some of these Mandela effects, it could just be one giant psyop, and these companies are using AI to change certain scenes. They have come out time and time again to let us know they are doing that, adding certain items to older movies as a way to sell products and make money. So who's to say they're not doing that here? But me personally, I always remember this being a chocolate bar. But whether this is a Mandela effect or not, nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to convince me that Dolly from Moonraker never had braces. She indeed had braces.
County just rezoned a man's land for data center development without even telling him. Then the residents turned around and made them undo the whole thing. So Stokes County, North Carolina, there's a little town called Walnut Grove of about 1,500 people. A developer wants to drop a massive hyperscale data center on about 2,000 acres, and the county's own board looks over it and denies it. The commissioners overrided them anyway, 3-1 approved, and nobody even knew who was going to be the developer of this site yet. But here's where it gets dark. The land that they voted on to rezone, it includes burial grounds, ancient graves, Native American ancestors, and slave people, families who have roots going back there for generations. And all the residents basically got up and said, our ancestors are in that ground, and you just want to plow it over and build a data center right on top of it? And it gets even worse. They fully rezoned a random guy's property. A guy who's lived in his home for 14 plus years gets it handed off one day to a heavy industrial company without his permission. And they didn't even check who owned the land first. So a random guy woke up one day and his house was now legally turned into an industrial zone. The 3 acres that he owns is now just a little island surrounded by an industrial ocean, and he was never asked and never told. So the town packed the meetings. Hundreds of people inside chanting so loud that you could hear it over the live stream. And they also lawyer up. Residents plus a few groups sue the county, and they nailed the commissioners on one thing. The county never even gave a proper legal notice before the vote. And it works, the county folds. They vote to void their own approval. Their words was that it has to be treated like it never happened. The whole thing erased and back to square one. And it's not over. The developer says that they're definitely going to refile. But a town of 1,500 people made an entire county government delete their own vote, and that's what matters. And if you want to stop this within your county before the concrete starts to be poured, send an opposition letter directly to your city commissioners on my website, Florida Data Centers. It's linked in my bio.
That video came from jfloridadacenters.com, and while these residents may have currently won, this data center organization, they are suing for this land. And something tells me if they don't get their way, then quote unquote nature is going to come along and it's going to help these people move along.
This is what Walmart's new AI system says when you call to ask for help.
This call and your voice may be recorded for quality or other business purposes, including fraud prevention.
Your call and your voice will be recorded for quality or other business purposes, including fraud prevention. I like how they put that at the end to kind of make your brain feel like it's a safe thing. It's not, because I looked into what other business purposes could be, and it is not limited to AI training, voice cloning data sets, emotion tracking, behavioral analysis, customer profiling, speech recognition systems. What ethics?
So many things they can do with it, because they're going to turn around and sell that phone call. The data from that phone call, they're going to sell it to some other company that's going to have something that they're going to do with it. Like, it is insane the amount of things they can do with your voice, the way you answer questions, the psychology behind it, or even just monitoring you. Now, your phone is the key code to your bank account now. Many banks are going to where they have voice recorded you and it's part of your password. I often ask them, well, AI can duplicate my voice, so why would I want that to be my password? Whatever bank thought that was a good idea is purely...
This is just another reason to give up Walmart altogether. Not only are they going completely digital inside, Walmart is also known to be heavy into facial recognition cameras, which has landed them in some hot water when it came to legal trouble, but they have not stopped.
Am I AI generated? Let's talk conspiracy theories real quick, because we have a very big problem that I don't know how to fix, and it's going to get much, much worse if we don't figure out a solution real quick. Every day on the internet, I'm accused of being AI. Me, accused of being completely non-human in some artificially intelligent computer-generated video. I ran Joe Clark through an AI detector, and the AI detector claims that Joe Clark is AI, therefore he is. And this is happening to people all over the internet every single day. And usually it's on a video of me talking about the problems with AI or me playing guitar and singing songs. But here's the real problem with this. Other than the fact that AI would decide for me to look like this, which is an insane choice for a computer, but I am a human, and that is literally an insane thing to have to say. I never imagined I would be defending my literal existence. But isn't it literally insane to use your AI detector, which uses AI to detect AI, to accuse an actual human being of being AI because your AI falsely accused them of being AI? And instead of being mad at your AI detector for being wrong, you're mad at the human being whom you thought was AI. That is like the definition of insanity.
That video came from Storyteller 502, and it's very eerie how much AI has advanced, where we can't tell who's real and who's fake. And this all falls into Sam Alternative Man's plan, this whole world ID, where people have to scan their eyeballs and give their biometric data to prove they're human and not AI. And it's just scary to think that so far, over 18 million people have done this.
This is one of the scariest videos ever uploaded to the internet, and it was uploaded way before AI existed. It was taken on a digital camera in Russia. A woman kept hearing weird noises coming from the forest behind her house, so one day she decided to film it. One. So she hears a loud bang, has a genuine reaction to the noise, turns around, and this thing is on her roof. I enhanced it right here so you can kind of see it better. It's a reddish color. It has a very narrow head. It looks like its eyes are on each side of its head as well. And as soon as she notices it, it climbs away. This is, after all, Russia. So what do you think that is?
So I actually remember this video. It's old. I think it goes back to 2014 or even 2010. And I can't help but notice that this eerily looks like one of those pale crawlers. I really do miss that day and age before AI made us believe that everything is AI. And perhaps that is one of the purposes of AI anyway, these things being seen more and more, and they give us that excuse that it's just AI. That video comes from Whoa, That's Strange.
I hope everyone had an amazing 4th of July because we are back at it and we have some brand new home security footage. This was captured by a witness named Rachel Butterworth. On June 30th, her home security camera captured something that she can't explain and doesn't understand what is happening here. And this one truly is way out there. Take a look at this footage, comment below, and let us know what you think.
This video is from the Paranormal Chick, and at first I thought this was just normal lightning until I saw that white thing zooming right behind it. Almost looked like some kind of portal had opened and this thing is zooming in it.
Since CERN shut down their Large Hadron Collider for the next 4 years, has anyone noticed how different things feel? I can't be the only one out there that has noticed how different everything feels since they shut it down. Now, maybe this is a placebo effect. Maybe that's all that this is, but days really do seem longer than usual. And even the weather seems more normal than usual. Again, maybe all of this is a placebo effect because what we know about CERN. But people have been noticing a lot of bizarre things surrounding CERN shutting down their Large Hadron Collider. Case in point, people have noticed that Chick-fil-A now has a K in it again. Now, how do you remember Chick-fil-A being spelled? C-H-I-C filet or C-H-I-C-K filet? And there are a lot of other bizarre things surrounding CERN shutting down their Large Collider. Since CERN shut down their large...
That video came from a good friend of the channel, Truth Seeker, and whether this is CERN's doing or not, or yes, like he said, is some kind of placebo effect, I have also been noticing time is a little bit slower than usual. Whether CERN is impacting time or not, I do find it interesting that they came out and said that by 2029, time will be so fast that they are going to start subtracting a second from the clock. Are they getting us prepared for when CERN launches again in 2030 for this high luminosity collider?
Okay, get this. It's 1614 in Europe, and you come across a document that's been circulating across the entire continent. And this document is announcing the existence of a secret brotherhood of enlightened masters who claim to possess the complete knowledge of the universe. They say they're ready to reform the world. They're inviting the wise and the worthy to make contact. But here's the crazy part about it, because there's no address on the document. There's no names, and there's no way to actually find them. There's just the document itself and then silence. So this document is called the Fama Fraternitatis. You might have heard about it if you're into secret societies, Rosicrucianism specifically, which we'll get into. It's essentially the manifesto, the document that founds the Rosicrucian order. And what happened is one of the most extraordinary episodes in all of intellectual history. So let's talk about it. And the story starts here with hundreds of Europe's greatest minds, okay? Scholars, philosophers, scientists, theologians, they all start publishing open letters that are addressed directly to this brotherhood, begging for admittance. Now, Descartes is out here frantically searching for members of the Rosicrucians, even Francis Bacon. He's believed by many scholars to have been directly connected to the whole thing. The letters start piling up across all of Europe, addressed to an organization that nobody can even prove exists. And maybe to your surprise, the Brotherhood never responds, not once, to anyone. So this is where the mystery really gets unsolvable, because nobody ever claimed the Fama. There was no author that ever came forward, and not a single Rosicrucian member was ever definitively identified. There were some historians who think that it was just an elaborate hoax, and some think that it was a genuine secret society that was so perfectly hidden that it was, totally anonymous. But some think it was a deliberate thought experiment, essentially a way to spread the ancient Hermetic wisdom across Europe under the cover of a fictional brotherhood. And this makes a lot of sense to me too. But if you're a fan of my content and you love all this material, you know where I stand on the issue, and that's that I believe the Brotherhood was completely real. I also believe that it still is, and that it never responded to those letters because the people writing them just weren't ready to receive the answer. And what I find most extraordinary about the whole thing is that a single anonymous manuscript, okay, one document with no author, no address, and no way to make contact spread across an entire continent. It consumed the greatest intellectual minds of the age, and it launched a movement that produced the Western esoteric tradition as we know it today. 400 years before social media, it was the greatest viral document in history, and here we are today, still not knowing who sent it.
I saw that video off Matrika's channel, and it's just so interesting how many secret societies there were throughout history that could still be in operation to this day. Groups like the Royal Order of the Jesters, you don't really hear many people talking about them or much information from them, but yet they are above, supposedly, the Freemasons.
This is a veterans memorial, and they have this strange thing here. She has hoofs. And a Lizzie face. And here's the little book about it. With a frog and a mouse. Here's the back of her outfit. And her hat, and her neck, and her hands, cloven hoofs, and her face. City of Longmont paid for this. It's strange. And here's another thing. I don't know if you can pause to read.
There are a lot of people that believe this to be some type of giant lizard person or reptile sculpture, but supposedly it's actually a giraffe, and it's named Mandela Giraffe, and this is the story of it. It's still very eerie looking, and it's very eerie that it's right next to and facing a memorial. I mean, what connection is there to be had? But in any case, I do want to thank you all for watching.